Darrian Mikell here, and Darrian. Before we get into anything else, I had to ask you what does a national champion long jumper jump? What are we
Well,
talking?
I always kind of downplay it a little bit. I'm really proud of it, but so I was in NAIA, which is separate from NCAA, but I jumped 24 feet 3 inches, I believe, and so it was a good distance. But I always tell people there's definitely levels to long jump. My brother, who I work with,
Yeah.
he competed in D1. He went to Indiana State, and he has a farther all-time jump than me. So he jumped like 25 feet,
Oh my
but
God.
that jump didn't get him out of maybe regionals. And
Really?
so there's yeah, for Division One. So there's definitely, and then like the pros go 27 feet plus. So it's like there's definitely levels to it.
Now, Bob Beeman was the all timer, right? Wasn't he the?
Yeah, I think it's like 20. Actually, I don't know if he has the all-time record, but yeah, like, I think the all-time record's like in the 29s, something around there. Yeah,
I bet I could
it's
go out there right
ridiculous.
now. I could go out there cold, and I could get a good 7.5, maybe.
There you
the ham
go.
the hamstrings tend to tighten up as we age a little bit. So no, that's pretty
Yes.
impressive. I know you played a couple sports, and you think your brother was Indiana State. That's the Sycamores, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Second worst.
I'm one of those trivial. I love to know all the mascots, but
Yeah.
tell me about we're talking about Qualify today, and CEO and co-founder. Your brother works for you as well, or works with you. How many
Actually,
people do you
yeah.
have?
Yeah, we're growing. We've really grown this year. So we started with like ground floor. It was actually my brother. His name's Devin, and myself, and then we're both not very technical. So we had two other co-founders join us, and so for a while it was all of us working just kind of as a side project, and then myself and Devin came on board full time last year, I believe, or yeah, around last year. And then this year we brought the other two co-founders on, and we started to actually grow the team as well. And we'll be at 13 full time employees after next week. Actually, we have
Really?
a couple new folks starting next week, so it's been really fun to see some growth and both on the business front and then also bringing new faces into the mix. It's been really fun and exciting. That's my favorite part, is just getting to collaborate and work with diverse set of people.
Hey, you're up to 13 people is what you're going to be up to?
Yeah, yeah. So it's four, yeah, the four co-founders plus, yeah,
That's
nine
amazing.
other individuals. So yeah, I didn't know it's been a wild ride because yeah, when we first got started, it was very much a struggle. Like what we do is kind of unique in the
Yeah.
space, and so we were trying to get anyone and everyone to believe in us, both on the customer side. Hey, try this thing out. Like, we'll give it to you for free. Just test it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Investors, like, hey, like, we think that there's something here. Can you like back us so we can go full time and really run with this? And it was hard to do that, but we were able to, over the last couple of years, grind it out and get people on both sides to believe in us. And so we have customer belief. We have real people using it and seeing amazing value, and then we also have, because of that, people that want to back us and help us grow it even faster.
Well, now, how did you and Devin know when it was time to? All right, we got to commit to this full time. When does that? When does that moment occur?
Yeah, it's interesting. So for me personally, I won't say it was decided for me, but I left I left my last job under the timing that I didn't really want to. That wasn't necessarily like the timing that I had originally intended. I had been working on Qualify, excuse me, as a side project, and it definitely was more of an idea, a concept, than it was a business. And so I was in this position where we had something I was really excited about, but we weren't really generating revenue. We didn't have investment. But I was like, I'm very much entrepreneurially minded,
Yeah.
and I decided to take a really large risk and just honestly just grind it out. I had a little bit of runway, less than I needed, hindsight, but grinded it out and just decided to go on board full time. For me at that point, just full time meaning my time was going there,
Right, right.
not necessarily drawing a salary or anything like that. But yeah, decided it was January of 2019 when I left my last company. I put a resume together, but I didn't really send it anywhere. And I was pretty committed to just trying to get qualified to be the full time. So yeah, that's when I decided to.
Well, and at that time, you had two kids, I guess, right? Did you have a third now
Yeah.
and sorry, to give people a little bit of
Yeah, a little context, and
right?
I'll give you maybe even a little bit more context too. So, when I so I've had three full time jobs out of college. This is the third. The first one was kind of a typical corporate job. I worked in the accounting and finance department at a pretty established, relatively large company. And then a couple of years into that job, a friend of mine said, "Hey, I have this." Like we had worked together on some other side project before, and he had another one that was starting to grow. And he was like, "Hey, I need some help. Come help me, grow this and run this company." And my wife was 7 months pregnant at the time
Oh
with
man,
our first kid, and so he was promising me a little bit more salary, but we weren't established. We didn't have health benefits or anything like that, and it was early stage company, so very high risk. And I was like, yeah, let's do it, and joined then. So that was leap number one, and that I think paid off because I learned a ton from that experience. And then yeah, I think I had two kids at the time when I left the last one, and yeah, it was a very high stress situation. I recommend people follow their dreams and pursue their dreams, but
yeah.
I always tell people to be maybe a little bit more calculated than I was, at that point. But hopefully things are on a much better track now. I'm glad hindsight that I was able to stick it out, but for those listening, I definitely wouldn't recommend that stress load.
Well, you know what? What should be implied here too is your wife must be a pretty big supporter of yours too to get through
Oh,
that.
100. Yeah, like she knew who I was when she married me, but like at the same time, yeah, she's definitely been down for the cause for, since we've been together. And like, yeah, I absolutely wouldn't have been able to do any of these things without her, blessing at the very least, but her support. And yeah, the family support has been uh, allowed me to, do what I do and do what I love. So yeah, super
That is a
grateful for
blessing,
that.
absolutely. I've got one of those myself, so it definitely helps when you have somebody in your corner.
Oh
And
yeah.
that believes in you. But man, that's a commitment there. I'm telling with 7 months pregnant and no health care. Oh my
Oh
God.
yeah.
Woo.
Yes, like I said, calculated risks is what I recommend now.
And so and during this pandemic, a lot of people got that maybe their dreams and plans that they were going to one day go off on their own that maybe got launched for them. You said maybe
Hmm.
the timing wasn't of your choosing. I think that happened to a lot of people during this
Yeah,
pandemic. That again, we're gonna. I hate to always bring up silver linings because it's such a bad thing,
yeah,
but there are, I mean, some unbelievable advancements in entrepreneurship where people are coming up with
yeah.
great
Just ways
ideas.
to take negatives and turn negatives into positives, and yeah, it forced everyone to do something new and whatever that meant in their context for sure.
I learned to podcast. That's what I did.
There you
That was my
go.
deal. So there you go.
There you go.
Uh, so your second opportunity, you said that's kind of where, and I had one of these early in my career too. I was doing everything. It doesn't matter what your title was, but you were
Yeah.
doing the recruiting, you were doing HR, you're doing all of it, right?
Yeah, my title was vice president, and
Ooh,
it was just
nice.
that. It was just that. It was not over any specific thing. So it kind of was a lot of things. My background, school wise, is finance and entrepreneurship, and like I mentioned, my first job out of school was accounting and finance, and so that was a comfort zone. So actually, when I came on board, I helped out with like the customer service, and then I was like, yeah, let me take on the finance as well because someone needs to do that. And then, yeah, we started to hire people. We had more just logistical things that need to get done. So effectively, I was over kind of the internal operations as we hired other folks to, build out the product, service our customers, market, everything externally facing. And so we were bootstrapped and pretty lean, so it kind of left me for a while being a one-man ops team, and so that's kind of where I got my first footsteps in the world of HR
Yeah.
and recruiting. Yeah.
Now, is that where the idea for quality was born sometime then when you were realizing what a pain in the butt it is when you're doing recruiting and waiting for people to call back and the rest of it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, Qualify was definitely born out of those pain points that I experienced in that time period. It was kind of a combination of honestly just looking at my process for recruiting, but also stemming from the fact that I felt like I was just juggling so many things at once and needed some help or needed some ways to be more optimized, more efficient. And yeah, this was one of the ideas that popped in my head. And like most people, when they have an idea, they go search for it online. I was pretty content to just like, oh, this probably exists already. Let me just go, buy a tool that does this, and didn't really see anything out there like it that was doing the way that we imagined it. And I was like, all right, there's something there. So I made it to my handy dandy idea list,
Yeah.
and stuck there. And that's when me and my brother Devin really started to talk about it. He was experiencing similar pain points. He's an entrepreneur as well. He launched a food truck while he was in college, and then so they hired some folks there. And then also in their off season, he ran a territory for senior healthcare organization, and just was dealing with a lot of turnover in terms of the employees that they were hiring. And he was constantly on the phone, screening or recruiting. And we both resonated around this pain point, and it was enough to, you know, you know, to really dive in and start to talk to potential customers, recruiters, and just get a better idea of the landscape.
So it's we haven't even really talked about the product yet. But it's a way to make the recruiting process obviously quicker, more efficient. Give me the elevator pitch so people who are in that kind of business get an idea of what this is.
Yeah. So generally speaking, the phone interview step in the hiring process, especially when you talk about like screening candidates, it is the slowest, typically the slowest bottleneck in the hiring process. And the way that breaks out is because of all of the coordination that leads up to it. So all the, reaching out to those candidates, coordinating a time, that time being, multiple days in the future, and, rescheduling, people backing out, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Plus, if you're dealing with a multitude of candidates and you're having, 20 to 30-minute conversations with each of them, it really adds up, and it can be a huge bottleneck. Lots of stuff happens with candidates, throughout that timeline. So what that breaks out to be is usually a week to, we've often heard, 2 weeks in just the phone interview step. And so what we do at Qualify is speed that step in the hiring process up through personalized automation. So recruiters can pre-record audio-based questions into our platform. They can use those questions in their question bank to create interviews that are, like I said, personal, yet they're still standardized. So it makes for a more consistent experience. And then they invite candidates, even at scale, to respond to those. And the unique thing about ours is once the candidate receives the invite, they click a link to read instructions. And then basically when they're ready, they'll hit a start button, and our system will call the phone number that they desire, and they can answer those questions over a standard phone call. It's very similar to responding to a voicemail prompt. And we record those, we transcribe those, and make it immediately available for the recruiting team to listen to and share with their colleagues. So it becomes collaborative. It's really fast. Most responses come back the same day that the invites go out, and so it moves candidates through a process a lot faster and gives quality information back as well.
Well, you probably get some. I'm sure it's intended, but you're going to get some other information too from a person of how they present their ideas, how they communicate, how quickly they respond,
Yeah.
that type of stuff. I bet there's a lot of benefit to that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some folks use it. It's been interesting to see how different customers utilize the same tool in different ways. Some people treat it as, hey, like this helps me understand how, how much this candidate wants to work here, and
Yeah.
how engaged they are in our process, or if they're just kind of spraying and praying their own resume or their own application out there. Helps us get a gauge on, how intentional they are about working with us. But yeah, it's really cool because we use it ourselves at Qualify. Like
Yeah.
most people, like when they hear about the idea, they might feel at first like it's a little impersonal, but when you experience it for yourself, one, recruiters get to showcase their own company, their own voice and personality in the interview. And then likewise for the candidates, you instantly hear, personality, but also stay pointed to the specific things that you're asking these candidates. And again, it helps you to be more objective um, and, and, and review candidates on an apples to apples basis, because otherwise it can go, a live interview can go in a variety of different directions with each candidate.
Right.
And this keeps it, consistent and more fair in that way.
So, right now, obviously, what's going on with the buzz term, I just did an episode this week about the Great Resignation, right? We
Mm-hmm.
have this phenomenon where people are quitting. I would think the demand for a product like yours is going to go up considerably, considering companies are going to be struggling here big time for talent. Are you seeing any of that yet? Are you getting any feel for that?
Yeah, well, when I hope so in the best way that that sounds, obviously, the way that what we're seeing typically is that there's some either industries or roles within a company that still receive high volume of applications, which is, typically what we're most geared for. But even in those companies or in those industries, or in separate industries where you might not be receiving a ton of applications, there still are those that are coming in, and your recruiters need to be more focused on sourcing, or actively hunting for new candidates. And
Mm-hmm.
what we view ourselves as in that sense is essentially like staff augmentation, because it's still critical that you figure out a way to screen these candidates. But recruiting is such a time intensive role. Like as a recruiter, your time gets spread out, and so we can help augment you in this way, so you can then go focus on sourcing. But yeah, like I said, we still work with a variety of industries that, yeah, they still get slammed with tons of applications, and it's hard for them to manage that load.
Yeah, and when you see a bunch of people all of a sudden resigning too, I know companies that don't have the infrastructure for that kind of turnover, they're going to be caught
Yeah,
off guard, and you're going to have recruiters trying to do more with a finite amount of time. That's
yeah,
tough, man. You've done the recruiting role. I did for years and years too. And number one rule is you got to be organized, or you're just in trouble big time. But
yeah,
when you're overwhelmed with that many requisitions, what a nightmare.
yeah,
This sounds like it kind of captures all of it too. So
yeah.
it's there for you when you want it, when you can access it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's record keeping as opposed to trying to take down notes. Like it's the same. You get to review it. You can pause it, rewind. Go back to it later, and share it. Help make better decisions. And yeah, to touch on kind of some of what you're saying too. What we see is that recruiting teams are relatively lean. It's not one of the you know most bloated departments in a company.
Mm-hmm.
Usually they try to keep it pretty lean, and so that can sometimes lead to them being overwhelmed or overworked or overloaded with just the number of recs that they're trying to recruit for at any given time.
Well, it's a job. It's a juggling act almost all the time, and especially when you're talking about volume recruiting. Do you have are you using it for all levels of positions? Do you find it to be more helpful for like entry level where you're getting inundated with hundreds of resumes, or is this more of a high level?
Yeah, so we typically, most of our clients start there with like the more hourly, kind of service-based roles where they are receiving tons of applications. Um, I'm obviously very biased in the utility of our tool. We use it, like I said, we use it for ourselves, and most of the roles that we hire are salaried positions, pretty high skilled positions, and so obviously we use it a little bit differently in the context of what we do, because it's partially to give our candidates a taste of what they're coming into if they work here. But what I'm anticipating is that we start mainly with these high volume roles and showcase value beyond the speed and beyond the efficiency, and tap into the quality of the candidates that we're helping you to helping you to hire, and other features that may enhance that objective nature, helping you to mitigate bias and things of that nature. Um, that can apply to a lot more than just the hourly skilled roles where you're focused mainly on speed and efficiency. Like I said, getting more towards how can we help you make better hiring decisions overall.
And all right, so you actually, I mean, you knew you were going to be an entrepreneur even in college, right? Because you said that's sort of the track you were on, and
Yeah.
finance. I'm finding more and more people with the finance background that are well suited for that too, because knowing how the money works definitely is.
Yeah,
It's
that was
huge.
that was kind of exactly my mindset was like, I want to start stuff, but I want to know how to take money and make more money. That was at least my thought. I was either going to go down the entrepreneurship track, or for some reason I really liked the Shia LaBeouf version of Wall Street, that movie, and I was like, oh, being on Wall Street would be kind of cool, just getting like a
Oh
$1 million
no,
check,
man, no!
But that was definitely not my path.
You're too
But
nice. You're too nice.
Yeah, I'm not cutthroat enough. But the yeah, there's a scene in that movie where like the guy hands him like $1 million check, and I was like, that would be nice, you know?
That'd be nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, for entrepreneurs or for people who are thinking about it, um, what do you like? What are some of the key thoughts or the key things that you need to keep in mind before you actually launch something? I mean, you're sitting in your office, you have a germ of an idea, and you think, "Wow, go online. Hey, nobody's really. There's a gap in this market, like you did."
Yeah.
You know, what do you kind of how does that formulate go from an idea to we have a viable business?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that I've really like the basic building blocks that I feel like I've learned is one, that was my mindset before, like, oh, no one's doing this. Like this either one is an opportunity, a great idea. What I thought before was, oh, if someone's already doing it, then like, oh, well, someone's already doing it, then I
There's no
shouldn't go pursue it. There's no opportunity here. That's
is that a myth?
probably that is probably the closest thing to a myth, because what that does, if anything, is showcases that there's a market for that business and that there's some validation there. Which leads to the next point is uh, a lot of people get an idea and then invest a lot of time and money in the wrong direction. And instead of taking the simple steps to validate the idea, and the way you validate ideas is there's a variety of ways to validate ideas, but what you ideally want is to validate from your potential customers. So figure out who your target or potential target customers are. Go talk to them, understand them a little bit better. The ultimate form of validation is if you can get somebody to pay for something, especially
Right.
if they're like, especially if they're willing to pay for it before you build it, then that kind of fronts you, some money to like actually get it off the ground, but it also gives you that security of knowing that, hey, when I actually get this launched, that I have customers.
You have a customer.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, those are the two basic things is, well, honestly, that the last one is like really the leading one. Get validation from your customers. Ideally, get their money. And that gives you signal that you're at least heading in the right direction, and just be prepared to pivot and iterate along the way.
And so you were feeling the pain points, so you knew that there had to be other people like you out there that were having the same pain points, and that was your potential customer, right?
Yeah, and like for us, it was we did get validation. Ours was a little bit unique. Like we started with, I still have some of the sketches on my phone. Like there's different, sketching and like prototyping tools. I still have some of those on my phone. But yeah, we started with like pencil drawings, a little bit of some mock-ups online, did some more high fidelity mock-ups. So there's like some really cheap ways that you can get the concept out there and get people to see it and visualize it. We took farther steps after we, talked to more customers. Like I said, we brought on technical co-founders that then actually built it, because
Yeah.
what I've always felt, and even today, is it's one thing for me to explain. I explain, what we do as a company, but when you actually get your phone, when you hit that start button, your phone rings and you hear someone else's voice and you respond to it, it's a little bit of a different experience. And so we wanted to actually create that experience and get feedback from that as well. And so we felt like it was a little bit more necessary to build even a minimal version of what we do
Yeah.
today. Yeah.
What do they call it? Like a
An
minimum
MVP.
viable MVP. There it is. Minimum
Yeah,
viable
yeah,
product. Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm learning a lot of this firsthand. My wife's an entrepreneur, and her company, they're doing a lot of this too. We're going through the funding and all that. So,
Oh yeah,
and getting that first prototype. And
yeah,
I think one of the most important things I've seen with her too, and it sounds like with you, you've got your brother, which is always good. You have somebody you can count on. But
yeah.
the people that you work with, that core team, I mean, everybody has to bring something.
Oh
They
yeah.
bring it, and if you
And
have
they bring
one bad
everything. Like,
wheel, yeah,
yeah, they bring everything because like I've I've vocalized this I think recently, but I I can take credit for like the maybe like the inception of like the idea, but then from there, basically everyone has done everything else to get it off the ground and to get us to where we're at today. Um, you know, I think I've brought on a couple of customers personally, but my brother has really led the sales efforts and built that up and is continuing to grow that. And then yeah, our co-founders lead the engineering and product teams, and so like they're really setting setting how we're building things and building a really stellar product. And so yeah, it's been really cool. That's like I said, my favorite part is like I love ideas. I have plenty of
yeah,
them, and
yeah.
then just find like, oh, who would be great to like bring in to do this. So that's what I like to do.
Well, see that, and that's a perfect compliment to a dreamer, somebody who's a big idea guy. I'm kind of like that myself. I can think of the thing, but I just don't really know how to do the thing. and
Yeah,
then once you do the thing, then I want to go find the next thing, and let's figure that out. But
right.
if you had four of me and one team, we'd be horrible. We'd
Yeah,
all
we
sit
would
around
have.
brainstorming all day.
Yeah, exactly. That's like I'm a big brainstormer planner. I do all the back office stuff. That's why I try to just get things out of people's way. Like send me all the
Yeah.
junk, and like I'll do the finances. I'll do all the administrative, like all that sort of stuff. No one else should really need to do this. So I try to take that off people's plates and let them just focus on what they do best.
Now, I can't believe qualify as a name was available. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
that it's I mean, you spell it with an I at the end, so it's a little
Yeah,
something
we make
different.
it a little unique, and then we got a cool subdomain, the .hr. So like not
Oh,
a
that's
lot
a
of
good one. Yeah.
yeah, qualify.hr. So not a lot of folks have. I don't think I've seen a ton of folks with the .hr. And so
I
yeah,
I don't think I have seen any. I think that's a good one because
I'll keep it on the hush.
you will edit that. No, it's because for people who watch this, will see your hat has the koala on it, and it took me when we first got together and talked. It took me to like the 30th minute of our conversation. Oh, I get it now. The koala qualified.
You're not you're not alone in that. Like some people like instantly get it, then some people are like, wait, where's the koala come from? Oh, yeah, it's in the name. Yeah, yeah. We wanted something kind of cute and welcoming to. Uh, yeah, we try to be pretty. It's as oxymoronic as it sounds, pretty human first. In terms of how we like what we do touches people in every aspect, and so we wanted something that kind of represented that and creates that welcoming feel.
Well, what's the biggest obstacle when you are trying to, communicate the value of this product to a potential customer? What's the obstacle that comes up, or the pushback you ever get?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it before. It's not necessarily pushback. It's I guess in the sales context, it would be kind of an objection or at the very least a question. It's like, oh, like what do candidates think of this? Is it, it seems pretty impersonal to like send somebody an interview, but like what we find is that that's not the case, that people are able to exhibit themselves and get a better feel for the company. And what's really cool is that it makes it really convenient to the candidate schedule, which they appreciate, especially like in the context of the roles that they're being recruited for. Oftentimes they may not have time during the day to take a break from work to take an interview, and
Mm-hmm.
so they can take it at any time that they want. So we see people taking interviews at the weirdest hours in the
I
night,
bet.
and
I bet.
yeah, it affords them that ability. So yeah, we're effectively kind of being a recruiter that doesn't sleep for those organizations.
God. Companies love to hear stuff like that. Yes, give me a recruiter that doesn't spam. So if I'm a candidate and I get the email, it's not until I hit the button that look,
Right.
my
Yeah.
wife
It's not, you don't just get
email.
like you don't just get like a random phone call. It'll shoot you a text message or or an email invitation saying like, "Hey, we got your application. We want to learn more about you. We want to make it convenient for you. So we've pre-recorded these interview questions. Click this link to get started." There's like expiration that the recruiter can customize, and yeah, they click the link, takes them to a branded landing page that shows them the instructions, and then within those instructions is the slot for their phone number, which is either already pre-filled or they can type in their phone number, and then they hit start, confirm, and then their phone starts ringing.
You know, it's funny. I was just thinking this too because my kids are of the age they have phones and all that stuff, and I they won't answer the phone. They never answer the phone. So you text them, and if they're in the next room, they'd rather text me than call. And so you have this generation where they might prefer to have that first interaction to be, with at their behest, and they're not really talking
Yeah,
to a live person because they just they can do it when they
yeah,
want to do it. That might
makes them
actually
a
be
little
a.
bit more,
I would think they like it.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we've definitely seen like feedback on either side, like but yeah, we've heard for sure that it's like a little less pressure when it's not a live person, and you don't feel like you have to perform as much.
that'd be funny, man. I'm trying to put myself in the candidate seat and get that and push it. Go, what the hell is this going to be, man? This is weird. And then I would think that's pretty cool. I would think that's a pretty cool feature for the company because it also makes them look like they're a little bit ahead of the game with technology. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's the name of the game right now, man.
yeah, and that's what like just trying to what we want to do is like introduce something that at least we think is innovative, but on the candidate side takes little to no guesswork. Like it's honestly, I think it's 3 clicks. Click to read the instructions, click start, and then we just make you double confirm that you've actually read the instructions and you're ready. But you hit that start button, and yeah, that's it. And then from there, it's a phone call as opposed to trying to like download anything or log in into anything, or you don't have to have a webcam. It's just your voice, you and the phone. That's it.
I was going to ask. So there's not a visual component at this moment.
No, yeah, and I mean we've talked about going down that path or not. So far we've been very pro audio, pro voice, and the things that it affords is a little bit more flexible, more accessible. People, like I said, you don't have to have a webcam. Some people don't, or have great environments to take an interview in, and you have to go through all the, put your, the suit top on and all that sort of stuff.
I got to shave. I got to. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember we were toying with that too. We would ask people to maybe send in. This is a while back. We were recruiting for a branding manager position. So you're thinking, all right, branding, they need to be able to represent themselves, and have them
Right.
send in a video. And it was really off-putting for a few of them. Like,
Yeah.
some people are just real hesitant to have any video of themselves out there that they don't know where it's going. And then you have
Yeah.
the EOC,
Yeah.
fall
This
into
the
some
the
traps there
bias and
too.
diversity. Yeah.
Right,
Like,
right.
and that's what one of the cool things that like it's been like kind of an epiphany. I think someone kind of mentioned this to us, but most like when you talk about like video, people are very much, especially in the social media day and age, like very much used to consuming video. Like they're scrolling all the time, watching video, but most people don't produce video. They're not used to being in front of the camera, and so it does create that awkward experience as a candidate where some personality types, some people are comfortable in front of a camera, but especially when it's a job scenario, like it's already that much added pressure. So yeah, that's what we're hopefully combating that in some ways.
So you've got the suite set up for podcasting yourself. Are you guys doing a topical podcast, or what kind of show are you doing?
Yeah, no podcasts currently in the works, but I love audio. Hopefully we do at some point, or have something that we do plan to produce content and get more awareness of the things that we're learning out in the world. But right now, I just have this set up so I can talk to folks like you.
So is that what kind of marketing are you guys doing? Do you outsource it? Somebody doing your marketing for you, or is that in
No,
house?
yeah, that's one of the folks that we've brought on board here in the last few months. Her name's Leela. I think she's one of the few folks that listens to all of my podcasts, so she
Yeah.
gets a quick shout out. But no, yeah. So she's leading up our marketing efforts, and we're still pretty ground floor in a lot of areas. So far, we've just done a lot of just outbound sales work to build what we've built so far. But like I said, we're pretty unique in the space that we're in, and so